What inspired you to choose this focus for your story?
Well, I had a theory that the lives of most people were very dramatic, and I was interested in learning how to write basically nonfiction short stories with an eye towards writing nonfiction novels. We didn't really have that phrase back then, but that's what I was trying to do. And one of the things I noticed about the novels I read was that the quotes sometimes stood between what the writer was trying to say and what the reader was perceiving. So I looked at ways other than words, which one would be more honest. All right, because we're not honest with words, not a one of us, except me, you. But the other one was, it just seemed to me like too much journalism is dominated by quotes, and quotes aren't facts. You know, I mean, it's a fact somebody says it, but it really isn't a fact. So this was back in the time when these things were just gaining some intellectual credence. You know, is there any other way that I can convey messages? And I had read, all the people watching books, or at least one of them, and so I took up people watching and found out that that was usually more expressive than quotes, because people don't, even when they're not trying to lie to you, they don't say what they mean, and it's partly because they don't know what they mean. If you watch yourself, you'll notice that. That it's sort of an automatic process. You can't turn it off. So, I mean, both for honesty and for dramatic power.
What was your observation process? So when you went into the operating room, what did you do? How did you collect the information for this story?
Well, I hadn't taken to using a recorder yet because they weren't reliable enough.
Right.
So I went in with I would now. I did later. I went in basically with my notebook and the tape recorder in your head, and I'd gotten pretty good at the latter. I'd actually practice with taking down quotes, and then when I got back to the paper, spewing them out of memory, and then checking them and seeing if that's what they said. And I was getting reasonably good at it, so it just seemed like a natural way to go, because what I was trying to do was adapt literary to journalism.
What were you actually able to see when you were sitting in the room?
It was an operating room.
Yep.
And it was crowded, and I'm standing in various places depending on what I want to do. At one point, Ducker let me look through the microscope, and I'm writing down times, and I'm writing down everything that I can use as time.
Right.
Because it's important that there be a movement of time, and that's kind of tricky to put together. But that is as nonfiction, but you can do it.
Why was writing everything in such explicit detail necessary to drive a story like this one?
Because God is in the details. The details, much more than our abstractions, represent reality. Represent but a piece of it, but they represent it. So what you want to do is you want to write with reality as much as humanly possible. That doesn't mean you have to write with physical action. Mental action is action too. So it sort of applies to everything.
And what was the most challenging part of writing this story to you?
Oh, it was an incredibly easy story to write because it was sort of the one I've been preparing myself for. But I didn't realize it at the time. So when I walked out of there, because she was going to die, she hadn't yet. When I walked out of there, I thought, oh, damn it. I mean, my story's gone, because you normally don't put a death scene on a feature page of newspaper.
Yeah.
We didn't then. Okay. A lot of the stuff that I was doing was right on the cutting edge, which is why I got the Pulitzer. it wasn't just that it's a good story, okay? It's a good story at a time when a good story could change people's attitudes about feature writing, and that was probably the most satisfying part of it.
Right. Did you ever follow up with Dr. Ducker after you had written the story?
Oh yeah. As a matter of fact, when I got done writing that story, I've never written anything this easy, in a way, but I got 90% of the way through it, and I felt my own heart starting to race. Really good, full of tension fiction does that. You know, your heart starts beating. So, and then basically I got scared, because we get scared when we succeed, and writers are especially prone to that. So I did something I had never done before. I called Ducker at home at night and read him the stories from beginning to end, because I was afraid of something being in there that wasn't right. And I remember there's this long pause, and he said, "Well, John, that's pretty much the way it was." So that gave me the confidence to go ahead. But normally I wouldn't do that. I was ready to fight World War III. I had to take this thing to the editor, so I wanted to be pretty damn sure, because I knew it was going to get a lot of attention.